Hey there, Jeff Manchester, Manchester Music. Let me ask you a question. How valuable is someone else's opinion? How much is feedback, objective feedback, worth to you? I think about this a lot as I've been mixing a song for a client. And you can check out a series I dropped last week where I did a whole, 5-6 part thing on mixing that song. Before I get it ready for the client, I want to make sure that I'm getting the client the best possible result. And I'm expecting them to ask for a couple changes. That's totally normal, but I want to make sure what I'm giving them is as good as it can possibly be. And I'll be honest, it's tough in this new world. I'm not in my old studio. I'm in this other space where I have to use headphones to mix and rely on, and I really don't love mixing completely in headphones. So how valuable is it to have someone come in and give you some objective feedback on how you're doing? I think it's pretty valuable, especially if that person who's giving you that news, that advice, is credentialed and just objective. It's like, imagine you're about to leave the house, right? And you have an outfit on, and your significant other says, "That's a lovely outfit." You might walk out and feel like, "Oh, cool, that's awesome." But there might be a part of you that's going, "Well, we did get into a fight last night, so maybe they're just saying that because, we got in an argument." And you know what? Your circle, your social circle, that's what they're there for. They should be boosting you up and giving you confidence. But there's always a part in your mind that's like, are they just saying that because that's what they think I want to hear? Now, imagine if you went to a coffee shop and you're still wearing the same outfit, obviously, and someone goes, "Nice outfit." They don't know you. You don't know them. They're totally objective and estranged from you. And they give you this piece of feedback. I don't know about you, but for me, that is way more valuable because of that distance, because you don't know them. So when I heard about this project, this website called the Mix Consultancy, I was listening to a podcast, by the way, on Sound on Sound. Dom Morley was the guest. He's a producer, record producer. And he mentioned this thing that he had set up where you can go and you can deliver a mix to him and his team. They're going to listen to it and give you feedback. I was really, really, really intrigued because I think critical feedback from credentialed people, objective feedback at that, is really, really, really tough to find. And don't get me wrong, there is value in having a significant other who doesn't have like a Grammy listen to a mix with you, because I know I brought my fiance in, and when she's listening and we're listening together, I'll be like, "Oh my God, the snare is way too loud in that moment." But if I want real feedback on, is the verse different from the chorus enough? Is it dynamic enough? Is something overcompressed? Is it undertuned? Is it overtuned? Not something I can always rely on from the circle of people that I know. So I checked this website out and I got in touch with Dom, who was really friendly and nice. And what I did was I gave him my mix, and he got me some feedback, which we're going to implement before we send the mix to Kevin. So today's video, I want to talk about the Mix Consultancy, what it's about, and I want to share with you the feedback that I got from Dom on my mix. So first of all, this is the website, okay? This is the website, Grammy-winning mix advice. Get a better mix or your money back. These are the kind of value props here. Who needs our service? You're happy to mix yourself, but you want to make sure you get a more polished result. You want to get help getting that result. Your mix isn't quite working and you're not sure how to move forward. And this third one is the one that applies to me. You want discreet professional feedback on a mix you're working on. Yeah, I do. That's what I want. Testimonials here. And then we have reviews from Facebook folks. And then we have what I think is Dom listening to your mix, maybe, surrounded by a lot of expensive, awesome gear. And then there's the bio. Dom Morley is a Grammy award-winning engineer and producer, over 20-year career and counting. He's worked with many of music's top names, from artists like Adele, Sting, Amy Winehouse, producers like Phil Spector, Mark Ronson, and Tony Visconti of David Bowie fame. So this is really cool. I think this is really cool. You see more of his credits here, his blog, and then Sound on Sound, NAMM Show, Pro Sound, Instagram. So here's the kind of packages here. So we have 2 packages, the Platinum package and then the Gold package. Platinum is what I went with. This is where you send the mix in, Dom and or his team will listen to it and then give you feedback, notes. It says critical listen of your mix by top professional ears. So that sounds like more than one person. I'm not really sure though. Detailed personal feedback and notes, advice, and then you can revise the mix, send it in back 2 more times, get additional notes and advice for each of the two tweaks, and then you get a better mix. And the gold package is more like get a mix, get some advice, and then you're good to go. And what I love here is this last section. What if my mix doesn't sound better? Just let us know, they say, and we'll refund you in full. I love that. So beyond that, yeah, he's got courses too, which I'm really curious about because I love education. There's Dom and a bit of cable bondage. And then we have everything you need to know about recording vocals, mixing 101. I'm really curious about the mixing one, and I'm very curious about the vocal mixing one, because on the podcast, they kind of spoke of Dom as a really very, specialized in vocal production and mixing and recording. So that's kind of cool. So what happened? I submitted my mix, and there's a couple fields. There's one for you to obviously submit the mix itself, the file, send a high quality version over. And then there's like anything you want us to know about the mix. And then I think there's another section, which was like any references or anything like that. So for the anything you want us to know about the mix, I was a little curious about its mono compatibility. I was worried that a lot of the strings and things disappear when I sum to mono. I'm a hard pan kind of guy, like LCR panning I really love. So I was a little worried. I'm like, oh, is this really bad when it goes to mono? Some of my favorite records, though, Radiohead, Beck, stuff that Daryl Thorpe mixes, are hard pan. I love that sound. So I was worried about that. And also, I sent him some references. To be honest, I didn't get references from Kevin, the client himself. It was through a friend of a friend who said that Kevin really likes Ray LaMontagne, who I've talked about on this channel. And I was just kind of going for some references internally of Beck. So I said Beck and Ray LaMontagne, even though Kevin didn't give me those references himself, those targets himself. So anyway, so I sent that over to Dom and the Mix Consultancy. And in a couple days, I got an email back. And why don't we read this together? And so you can see what the feedback looks like. So, artist In Boca Al Lupo track. I guess I messed up. I didn't give him the track. The track name is In Boca, and it's Kevin, who's the artist. The mix name, blah, blah, blah. The date of the feedback. So we're a couple days out from this, 25th of March, 2021, in the year of our Lord. So he starts by saying, this is sounding really beautiful already. So already he gives you a compliment, which is very classy, because then some feedback is coming. It's like a compliment sandwich. But he starts off very positive, which is good for my sensitive ego. This is sounding really beautiful already. There's a good general balance, and all the sounds are very close. I've got a few moves and levels and EQ that should settle everything in a bit better, add a bit of clarity, and hopefully bring us closer to that Ray LaMontagne Beck sound. I'll start with the drums first and with the kick. He says, I would go for a much duller and more muted sound on the kick drum in order to fit in with the references. The sound right now is quite rock, as it has a lot of top end on it to cut through the distorted guitars, but that's not needed here. I would filter the top of it to lose most of that click, and also EQ in a dip of 2 or 3 dB at 800 Hz to remove an ever slight nasal tone that is there. Really interesting. I would also go a bit deeper on volume automation, as it's a bit loud in the verses, but about right in the choruses. Having said that, once you do the moves in terms of EQ, it shouldn't be so prominent, and you might feel it needs to come up a dB or so in the chorus just to make sure it's still pushing the track along, which is really interesting. So right off the bat, it sounds like what he's saying is the mix is really good, but if you want it to sound like these references that you've sent me, a couple changes need to happen. So now he goes to the snare. The snare is sounding great. Thanks, Dom. And although it's possible I'll come back to it in later consults of this platinum package, I'm not hearing any changes right now. That's great, because snare is something that mixers will obsess. Like, it's like 4 a.m. and they're like, I just don't think we got the snares. Like, they're just obsessed over that. So good, we have a good snare sound. The toms are a really good tone, but a bit too compressed for me. Again, it's a bit of a hard rock sound that they have. I think you might want something that's more chilled than that. Reducing compression should be a big step in the right direction here. Now he goes to the cymbals. The cymbals are sounding lovely. I would just turn them down a bit. They could be 2 or 3 dB lower and still be doing their job without threatening to be bombastic. As before, I'm really going off the references and trying to bring us closer to those kinds of mixes. The hi-hats could do with a bit more volume automation, which is interesting. Generally, I'd bring them up a dB or so and down about the same amount when there's an open hat, as those hits do poke out a bit. That's some good feedback. In the percussion, I'm hearing tambourine on the left. I would go a bit bolder, he says, with this. A bit brighter, a bit louder. I would consider just using it in the chorus, though, as it could be a really nice lift in the top end when it comes in. That's a really good piece of arrangement feedback. So have things sound different from part to part in the song, which I try to do in the mix in the videos, as you've hopefully seen. Go check them out if you haven't. On to the bass. This is sitting in the mix really well. Thank you. Lovely and warm and working around the kick drum really well. The only thing I try from here is a boost of 2 dB at 850 hertz to bring a little of the note out of it. That's a good piece of feedback. The electric guitars are beautifully mixed, nicely placed in the stereo field, and beautiful use of reverb to tuck them back. Thank you. The only change I'd consider in the guitars is to bring them up, the acoustic guitars in the chorus. That's a good piece of feedback. A similar move in the tambourine. So what he's saying about the tambourine, he's like, do that too with the acoustic guitars in the chorus. Just looking to add some more top-end rhythm so that the chorus lands with a touch more energy. It's not like it's sounding bad right now, he says, but we do have these potential moves in store, so why not put them in and create a slightly bigger dynamic? So, checking in mono. The strings don't actually disappear that much. After what you said, I was expecting worse. This is in the notes bit. I was like, I'm worried about my mono. I'm an LCR panner. He goes, I was expecting worse, and I've heard worse in the past. I would just thin them out a bit with a dip at 2.5 at 300 hertz. And also a dip of 2 dB at 1.9 kilohertz. Now this is what makes me smile, because if you guys watch the video I did on strings, I dipped these strings at 2 dB or 3 dB at 2K across all the strings because I wanted them to fit. I'm pretty sure I did that. I might have done that for different instruments, but remember, I heard a mixing tip about cutting it at 2K across all the instruments so that the vocal can kind of come through. I actually did do this, but he's suggesting more dips at 300 hertz, and it could be that I could be a bit more liberal with my subtractive EQ at 2K, 1.9K rather, in the strings. So we'll see. He goes, I'm slightly worried they're fighting in the vocals territory, so that should make more space there. I would also see if you could get any more top end from the strings. I tried to lift a little shelf from 10K, but couldn't hear a huge difference. See if there's anything you can squeeze out of them though, as some additional air on the violins could be really nice. He goes, finally, the vocals. The backing vocals are sounding great, and I would try to dip at 1.9K to give the lead its space. Not much required here, dB or 2 at most, I would say. And with the lead, I just had a few tweaks to get them a bit more body and presence out of it. Try adding 1 to 1.5 dB at 500 hertz to warm it up a little, and then dip at 2 dB at 800 hertz. Add a couple of dB, 1.9K to really bring the voice forward through the mix, and then dip 2 dB at 4.5 kilohertz to remove a bit of hardness. Finally, I tried a shelf boost from 12 kilohertz of 2.5 dB, and that really lifted the shine of it for me. Check the screen grab below, which illustrates what I mean. So he has a little Pro Q3 thing here from FabFilter showing me the lead vocal EQ, which is critical, right? Having that lead vocal really kind of shine. So he goes, and that is it. Just some tweaks to shift everything around a little and get the best out of it all. No big moves, as it's really close already. Looking forward to hearing where you take it for round 2. So that is the critical feedback that I got from Dom as part of the mix consultancy. So what I'm going to do is go in and implement these changes, and I'm going to create, I'll do a save as to make sure that I have like the mix consultancy mix and the original kind of rocky one, because again, I'm not sure what Kevin wants. I just went in a rock kind of direction. So what I'll do is I'll create 2 mixes, and I'll send the second one, the mix consultancy mix, back to Dom to see if we've kind of got things in the ballpark, and I'll update you on where that goes. And once we're all done, I will share the final results with Kevin, and we'll see where we go, and hopefully complete this mixing journey together. So that will do it for this video. Check out the mix. I think this is a really cool idea. I am someone who is very like enamored with like prestige and award-winning kind of folks. So it's kind of, I'm a sucker for this stuff, and I thought it was actually really useful. And I thought the feedback here is very well presented and very kind of measured and informed too. So I'm really happy with this process. Maybe they'll be helpful for you guys when you're working on something. It's just kind of nice because it does feel like you're trudging about like a ghost in a void when you're mixing. And it's nice to get a push in the right direction and some critical feedback. So let's leave it there. I'll see you in the next video when we submit the next version to the mix consultancy, and hopefully I'll by that point be ready to submit the full mix to Kevin as well. So take care. Thanks for watching.